Welcome to Use of Personal Protective Equipment training. At the end of this training, participants will have knowledge about the use of personal protective equipment. By the end of this training, participants will be able to acknowledge what is personal protective equipment, the purpose and importance of PPE, the evaluation and selection of personal protective equipment, use and maintenance of PPE, essential features of all PPE, personal protective equipment, errors in the use of personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment (PPE) refers to any device, tool, or material designed to be worn, or carried by individuals for the purpose of protecting against one or more health and safety hazards. The purpose of PPE is to protect workers from existing and potential hazards in the workplace. We know that the workplace consists of different units. Different tasks are performed in workplaces. The work environments are different. Working conditions vary. For this reason, the hazards specific to each workplace are different. So, what are the hazards in workplaces? Moving objects, high and low temperatures, light radiation sources, grinding, heat treatment, falling objects, sharp objects, floor conditions, chemical substances, dust, smoke, steam can be counted. There is a priority order in dealing with risks in the workplace. 1. Eliminate risk. 2. Isolating risk. 3. Prioritizing collective protection. 4. Implement personal protection use of PPE. So when should we use personal protective equipment? 1. Despite all precautions, if employees' health and safety are at risk, in the work environment, if we cannot make changes to the equipment, we must personalize protection as a last resort. Personal protective equipment protect employees from occupational diseases and workplace accidents. All personal protective equipment, except for those provided for social assistance purposes, belong to the employer. Employees may use PPE at the workplace in accordance with its intended purpose. Employees with permanent or temporary employment contracts, apprentices, visitors, employees of subcontracting companies must use personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment does not eliminate the hazard, prevents or minimizes adverse effects from the hazard or minimizes it, and has a limit to its protective capability. Incorrectly selected personal protective equipment cannot provide adequate protection for the employee, but for the employers, it results in higher costs. When selecting personal protective equipment, expert advice must be sought, such as occupational health physician, occupational safety officer, occupational safety and health committee. Employees must be provided with technical support. The employer determines the occupational health and safety measures to be taken based on the results of the risk assessment and the personal protective equipment that must be used. When selecting PPE, the necessary risk analyses must be performed, the need for use must be determined, and a procedure must be prepared. This procedure should include the selection of personal protective equipment, procurement, distribution, usage requirements. The audits must be specified. The PPE must be suitable for the individual user. Users must know how to perform regular maintenance and inspection of their PPE. The CE mark indicates that manufacturers have fulfilled their obligation to ensure that their products comply with certain standards and requirements, thereby informing users that the product meets basic quality and safety standards. The CE mark is widely recognized by many users as a quality symbol. The CE mark indicates that products, when used for their intended purpose, will not endanger human life or property, plant or animal life, or the environment. In other words, that the product is safe. The following provisions shall be complied with regarding the use of personal protective equipment in workplaces. Personal protective equipment used in workplaces shall be designed and manufactured in accordance with the provisions of the Personal Protective Equipment Regulation. All personal protective equipment shall be suitable for preventing the relevant risk without creating additional risks. Be suitable for the conditions existing at the workplace. Be suitable for the health condition and ergonomic requirements of the worker using it. You must visually inspect the PPE at the intervals recommended by the manufacturer and before and after each use. Do not use any material that you suspect is defective and immediately hand it over to an authorized person like foreman, employer, occupational safety specialist, materials supervisor, and keep a record. There are general features that are required in all PPE, such as ergonomics, protection level. We expect it to be made from suitable materials and suitable for the user. Here is the classification of personal protective equipment: eye protectors, head protectors, face protectors, partially protective, fully protective, ear protectors, hand and arm protectors, respiratory protectors. It includes filters and clean air providers, protective clothing, protection against falls from height, foot, leg, and slip protection, protective equipment against electrical hazards, drowning prevention/life jackets. Eye protectors protect eyes from harmful rays, various foreign substances, and blows. And safety glasses tested and certified according to EN standards uses polycarbonate lenses. These lenses are stronger than standard lenses, more resistant to impacts, and prescription or non-prescription types are available. When eye protectors are not in use, store them in protective containers. To clean eye protectors, wash under running water with liquid detergent and dry it with a soft cloth. They can be disinfected with appropriate products when necessary. If the lens break, scratch, get painted on, or stained, they must be replaced with the same type and CE marked replacements. If the frame is damaged, it must not be used under any circumstances. Head protectors, hard hats or helmets shell, should protect the head from impacts. Inner lining of it reduces the force of impact through suspension. Some types of helmets can be chin-strapped. They come in different colors depending on the nature of the work. Hard hats have a shelf life of 5 years. Head protectors should be very light. If possible, the weight should be less than 400 grams. Its shell thickness, regardless of the type of plastic, it should not be less than 2 millimeters. Hard hats must be replaced every 3 years, even if they have not been subjected to any impact. They must be replaced immediately if impacted, even if the service life has not expired. If they come into contact with chemicals, they must be cleaned immediately. No adhesive, writing, paint, or similar materials should be applied to them. If cracked, scratched, or otherwise damaged, they must not be used. Face protectors must be used in welding, grinding, scraping work, carving or chiseling work, in stone cutting or carving work, in sprayed concrete work, in bolt installation work, in work performed in environments with coarse dust, when using tools in sandblasting operations, when working with acids, solutions, disinfectants, or when working with caustic cleaning agents, when working with liquid sprayers, work performed under spray heat, in paste removal operations. Ear protectors can be categorized as ear muffs, ear flap helmet, and earplugs. Sound intensity is measured in decibels. Unwanted sounds that have negative effects on humans are defined as noise. Noise is measured in decibels, which is the logarithmic expression of the ratio of the pressure in the human ear to the reference pressure. Employers or subcontractors must provide ear protection to workers when the noise level in the workplace exceeds 80 decibels. When an employee's exposure to noise exceeds the lowest action exposure values 80 decibels, Hearing protection equipment must be available for use by employees at all times. When the employee's exposure to noise reaches the highest exposure action values, 85 decibels, or exceeds these values, ear protection equipment must be used by employees. Hand protective equipment must be used to avoid risks as burns, muscle contusions, skin damage, lacerations, puncture wounds, fractures, tears, and exposure to chemical substances. In the workplace, especially in industry, hands are most prone to wear and tear. If technical and administrative measures cannot prevent hand and skin injuries or contact with hazardous substances or mixtures, the employer must provide the employee with gloves suitable for the work being performed and ensure that they are used during the work. Gloves are personal protective equipment designed to protect the hand or any part of the hand from hazards. They can also protect the forearm and part of the arm. They must protect against the risk without creating any other risk themselves. Risks that can be considered for the hands are as follows: 1. Mechanical risks, 2. Thermal risks, 3. Chemical and biological risks, 4. Electrical risks, 5. Vibrations, 6. Ionizing radiation. The first 3 risks are the most commonly encountered risks. These risks have been taken into account in the design of the gloves. There are some environments that pose a danger to the respiratory system, such as dust, fog, fumes, harmful substances such as gas, or environments with insufficient oxygen. When selecting respiratory protective equipment, first, we need to determine the following: type of contaminant, the contaminant's MEC value, concentration of the contaminant. There are 2 main types of respiratory devices. 1. Clean air supply respiratory device, tightly fitting to the face, devices with a loose connection to the face. 2. Respiratory devices that clean the air breathed from the environment, dust particles, metal particles, fog, smoke, and vapor from the breathing air, providing clean air. These include emergency evacuation equipment, quarter face mask, half face mask, full face mask. Workers must wear work shoes appropriate for the work they are doing to prevent damage to their feet from falling sharp, piercing, or tearing objects and heavy loads in the workplace. All work shoes must have the CE mark and comply with the following standards. The inside of the shoe must be a single piece from the heel to the big toe. The shoe heel should grip firmly. The front part should allow the toes to move freely. To prevent the foot from slipping while walking, there should be a strap on the upper part of the shoe. The heel of the shoe should be low and wide. Flat shoes are recommended. Shoes shouldn't too high nor have very low heels.